Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really interesting, maybe even a little controversial take on relationship dynamics. It all comes from Alina Chamberlain's work, She Who Awakens, and it centers on these two core concepts she calls vector and space. So, what's that all about? Let's get into it.
All right, let's just start with a question that, might hit pretty close to home for a lot of people. When you really think about your partnership, does it feel like you're a team, a true collaboration? Or does it sometimes feel more like a competition, even a battlefield? So to unpack that question, we're going to start with Section 1, Beyond the Battlefield. The whole framework we're looking at today asks us to look past all the typical social roles we play and instead look deeper into what the author calls our biological software. Okay, so the big idea here is that masculine and feminine energies aren't supposed to be identical. Not at all. In fact, they're meant to be complementary opposites. And the author argues that when partners really lean into and align with these natural energies, a relationship can totally transform from a state of conflict into what she calls a powerhouse of mutual elevation. Now, this is where it gets really visual, because the core metaphor used to explain these two energies is pretty vivid. Let's move on to Section 2, the arrow and the ocean. And this slide really breaks it down beautifully. So, the masculine energy is framed as the arrow. It's vectoral. Think of a vector in physics. It's all about having a clear direction, a target, a focused goal. But the feminine energy? That's the ocean. It's spatial. It's not about going somewhere. It's this expansive, welcoming presence that simply is. It's an enveloping field, not a pointed tip.
So you can probably see where this is going. What happens when both partners are trying to be the arrow? Well, according to this framework, it's just like physics. Two vectors, two arrows moving in the same direction don't create a union. What do? They either collide head-on or they end up in a race against each other. Just think about how that might play out in a real relationship.
Okay, so now let's see how this arrow and ocean idea builds into a whole theory about a couple's energetic system. This brings us to Section 3, Peace as Power. Right here, the author lays out a pretty bold concept she calls the law of connected vessels. Now, the idea presented in the book is that a woman's internal state of peace, her tranquility, acts almost like a currency that gets directly converted into her partner's external success. The logic is that by creating this low-stress or low-cortisol environment, it actually allows his nervous system to reset and operate at a much higher strategic level. And this leads right to the idea of a charged woman. The book suggests that a man's success is often a direct reflection of the kind of energy he comes home to. So, a woman who actively prioritizes her own well-being, her pleasure, her health, her sense of connection, she effectively becomes, and I love this term, a living battery for the whole partnership. She provides what the author calls a biological infusion of inspiration and resilience. Okay, so if that's the system, what happens when this energetic polarity gets all scrambled up? Well, that takes us to our next section. Number 4, when roles reverse. To explain this disruption, the book introduces an archetype it calls the hyperachiever. And I think we can all picture this. It's a woman who is just on it, all the time, solving every problem, making every decision, providing all the resources. But according to this framework, by doing all that, she unintentionally steps into the arrow role, occupying the masculine energetic space in the relationship. And here is the supposed knock-on effect of that. The author's claim is that this constant problem-solving, this constant doing, leaves absolutely no vacuum. There's no empty space for the masculine instinct to rush in and fill, an instinct that, in this framework, is said to thrive on being needed for that strength and protection. And this slide lays out what the book suggests are the potential consequences for the masculine partner. When his arrow instinct gets blocked, it can apparently lead to passivity. That classic image of just settling into the couch. His whole system begins to atrophy. Or it could even flip the other way, and he might become aggressive because that natural drive to lead and protect has no healthy place to go. So, if that's the problem, then what's the solution? Well, in our final section, we're going to look at the author's very concrete steps for restoring the natural flow, which is all about learning how to open the space. So the book offers these 3 really practical daily adjustments to help get that energetic balance back. Number 1, the soft landing. Just give him 15 minutes of peace to decompress when he gets home. 2, dropping the shield, consciously relaxing your body and mind and shifting out of that guarded, defensive mode. And 3, the anchor of appreciation, finding something he provides and expressing genuine pleasure for it.
It's all about small, consistent actions that can shift the whole dynamic.
And all of that practical advice is really summed up beautifully in this one powerful quote, which completely reframes the whole idea. Your softness is not your vulnerability. It is the invitation for his greatest strength. So in this view, softness isn't weakness at all. It's actually a kind of strategic power.
Which, of course, brings us to the really big question this whole explainer leaves us with. In our modern world, where social roles and gender roles are constantly changing and evolving, what is the place for a framework like this, one that's centered on a fixed idea of energetic polarity? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for watching.